PCD, and it is a part of the oropharynx. This is important to differentiate between the two sides because the treatment options and treatment management differ. Now, so for the purpose of this presentation, we will be talking about the oral cavity cancer and not the base of tongue cancer. Now, oral cavity or anterior two-third tongue cancer, the most common site of involvement is 85% of the time it is lateral border of the tongue, and then dorsum, ventral surface, and tip is the next most common site of involvement, but which is very, very, very less in percentage. It's only about 5% each. So, though I'll be talking about the surgical options and surgical principles, I will just give a very brief overview how to work up a patient of a tongue cancer. So, before taking up a patient for surgery, you must do a biopsy. Most of the time, it is punch biopsy done in the OPD clinic. But sometimes, if there is no proliferative component, then you may have to do incisional biopsy. In today's era, there is no role for brush cytology and scrape smear because they have high incidence of false positive and false negative. Next step is to know the true extent of the tumor by doing imaging. It is needed in majority of the cases. Rarely, if the tumor is very small, T1, anteriorly located, and you can put your finger all around, palpate it nicely in the clinic, then probably you may not require any imaging for the primary. Otherwise, in all other cases, you must do imaging for the tongue. Now, the choice of imaging is MRI for tongue cancer. This is one example of one patient. Here, the first image shows the CT scan of the tumor. We hardly see anything. And the same patient, when you do MRI, you see a nice tumor which is very well delineated. So, imaging of investigation for tongue cancer is MRI. Apart from the extent, you must know and you must look at other details such as involvement of base of tongue, what is the relationship to the opposite half, whether it is crossing midline or no, status of the mandible, and what is the status of the neck. Now, metastatic workup in terms of chest X-ray should be done in all cases, irrespective of the stage. But if the patient is having stage 4 disease, especially with multiple lymph nodes or low-lying lymph nodes or N3 nodes, you must do PET-CT. If PET-CT is not available because of the financial or some other challenges, then CT chest is equally good modality because lung is the most common site of metastasis and often the first site of metastasis in tongue cancer. Now, after the imaging biopsy, you have to stage your patient as per the latest AJCC classification. Many times, especially when we start doing oncology, the youngsters may find it difficult to remember the stages. So this is the simplified form which is taken from a National Tongue Cancer Guideline published by ICMR. Fortunately, I was also part of it. We wrote together with Dikru sir and with many other experts in the country. So, when you have an N0 patient, just remember that for N0 patient, the stage is dictated by the T classification. So, if you have N0 and T1, it is stage 1. If you have T2 and N0, it is stage 2. Once it becomes N1, it automatically becomes stage 3. So, up to T3, any N1 is stage 3. Once it becomes N2, whether it is T1, T2, T3, doesn't matter. It is minimum stage 4A. And if your patient is having T4B or N3, then it becomes stage 4B. Once you have decided the stage, now you have to decide your intent. For early stage tumor 1 and 2, the intent is curative with a single modality treatment. For advanced stages, stage 3 and 4A, still the curative intent is curative, but we have to use multimodality treatment. For later stages like stage 4B and C, majority of the time the intent is palliative, and we choose single or multimodality treatment based on the performance status of the patient. Now, for early tongue cancer, as we can see in this diagram, for stage 1 and stage 2, the oncological outcomes are similar. As the stage advances, the surgery becomes a better modality of treatment for outcomes. So for early stage 1 and 2, surgery is equal to radiotherapy, but I would say for early tongue cancer, surgery is preferred not because I'm a surgeon, but because it has many advantages. For example, it is simple, it is one-time procedure, has excellent functional outcome, it can be repeated if required, and it is seen to be cost-effective. Brachytherapy, when given for early tongue cancer, on the other hand, can be given only for select lesions. The tumor has to be small, superficial, away from the bone, anteriorly located, Another issue with brachytherapy for tongue cancer in early stages is the management of neck. Now we know we have level 1 evidence that neck must be treated, whether it is T1 cancer or no. So either you have to do elective neck dissection or you have to irradiate it using the external beam radiotherapy. So you are kind of using two modality if you are subjecting the patient to surgery. So that is why the surgery is preferred. Now, when we talk about the principles of surgical resection, we have to think about many things, and we have to plan our surgery accordingly to get best oncological and functional outcome. This has to be in terms of appropriate approach so that we can achieve adequate margins. Mandible has to be given special emphasis because it is in close proximity to the tongue. And then finally, to optimize the functional outcome, we have to choose our reconstruction wisely. Coming to the surgical approach, per oral approach or intraoral approach can be done in a patient who has adequate mouth opening. The tumor is anteriorly located and you can put your finger all around the tumor in OPD. These are the patients who are suitable for per oral approach. However, on the other hand, if the tumor is posteriorly located, you cannot see or palpate the posterior edge, or if you are worried about the deep infiltrative extent of the tumor and you think that your margins can be compromised because of the lack of proper visualization, or the patient is having severe trismus, then you should opt for other approaches, one of which is pull-through approach. What we do in pull-through, we give a skin incision in the neck, we cut the muscles of floor of mouth, we give intraoral incision and deliver the tongue after separating the muscles of the tongue from the mandible. So, like we can see here, the whole of the tongue is delivered in the neck, and then we can palpate nicely and we can take our cuts, and especially the posterior cut. Alternative to pull-through approach is mandibulotomy approach, which is a good modality of treating a tumor which is located posteriorly, does not have floor of mouth involvement, and if you do pull through, you will have to open the floor of mouth and necessarily for such a small posteriorly located tumor, or the patient has severe grade 4, 3 and 4 trismus like we had in pull through approach. But the prerequisite of doing mandibulotomy is that there should not be any mandible involvement, there should not be major floor of mouth involvement, because anyway you are going to open the floor of mouth, then it's better to do pull through in this case. Now, coming to the mandibulotomy, it is of three types: median, paramedian, lateral. Lateral is outdated. We can do either median or paramedian. Paramedian is preferred over the median mandibulotomy. It is paramedian is basically mandibulotomy is done between the lateral incisor and canine, because that way we can preserve the genial muscles. We don't have to extract central incisor while doing paramedian. Otherwise, we have to do that if we are doing median mandibulotomy, because here what happens that the roots of the canine and lateral incisor are divergent. So without injuring any of the root, we can take the incision safely. The fracture line provides good mechanical stability. Inferior alveolar nerve is preserved. It gives good exposure and outside the lateral radiation portals. Now, how to take the incision over the mandible while doing mandibulotomy? 4 methods have been described, starting from the vertical, notched or angled, but commonly applied nowadays is the staircase type, which was popularized by Cohen, because this provides a more favorable fracture line for union. Now, how to choose pull-through versus mandibulotomy? Like I mentioned earlier, it also depends upon the surgeon choice, surgical expertise, and how you are comfortable. Besides that, you have to look at the tumor type. So if the disadvantage of pull-through approach is that it opens the floor of mouth. So suppose your tumor is nicely isolated, posterior tongue, and by doing pull-through, you will have to open the floor of mouth, which will require major reconstruction. Then probably you will offer mandibulotomy in that case. But again, if suppose that your tumor is reaching and you may have to remove the mandible, then mandibulotomy is not the right approach.
Yes, Dr. Shilpi, please unmute yourself. Please, Dr. Shilpi, please unmute yourself. Dr. Shilpi, can you hear me? Please unmute yourself.
it seen now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so the disadvantage of mandibulotomy is that it leads to delayed healing of the mandible sometimes, which may lead to non-union. So sometimes it's not preferred, especially if the patient has already received radiotherapy. Now the cheek flap can be utilized if we plan to do a segmental mandibulectomy, if the tumor is reaching and eroding the mandible, or sometimes, though most of the time if you are planning marginal mandibulectomy, it can be done through the visor incision, but sometimes it is not possible and you may use the cheek flap approach to address these kind of tumors. Now once you have decided the approach, now you have to aim for the adequate margins. It is very important to take adequate margins because we all know that it affects prognosis. Not only mucosal, but the deep margins are also equally important. Now there is a lot of debate regarding what is the best margin for oral cavity cancer. I'm sure it must have been discussed, so I'm not discussing it in detail. But majority of us follow Betsaki's criteria, according to which if the tumor is 5 millimeter or more in final histopathology, it is negative or clear margin. If it is within 5 millimeter, it is closed margin. If it is less than 1 millimeter or there is a microscopic tumor cut through, then it is involved margin. Now, but important thing to remember is to achieve this 5 millimeter on final histopathology, considering the shrinkage can be of up to 30%, you must aim for more than 5 millimeter. In fact, you should aim for minimum of 1 centimeter. There are many studies which say that for tongue being very aggressive cancer, you must aim for 1.5 centimeter, so that you are 100% sure that on final histopathology you are getting 1 centimeter or more. Other important things which must be remembered while taking margins and doing excision in tongue cancer is that you must palpate the tumor. So whenever you mark your the line of resection, it should not be only on inspection, but it should be based on palpation, because there might be a possibility that the tumor is actually reaching here, and then if you take the inadequate margin, then you will get less than 5 millimeter in final histopathology. Be extra wide at floor of mouth, because this is the most problematic area most of the time. If you have surrounding leukoplakia or erythroplakia, then include it in the resection, but it should not be there at the resection line. So if you suppose you have a leukoplakia which is reaching till here, go 2 millimeter extra. Don't take wide margins from that, but at least take 1 or 2 millimeters so that you don't get dysplasia at margin in your final histopathology. Another important thing is that whenever you take the cut, it should be under direct vision, no hidden areas. You should keep palpating it simultaneously while cutting, and it should be a smooth cut without any convex or concave area. Another important thing is, especially when tumor is reaching over here at the floor of mouth, or if you are doing the through approach, it's a good idea to keep your 1B lymph node along with the specimen, because that way your deep margin will never be compromised. Another important thing to consider in tongue is the lateral margin, where it is close to the mandible. So aim 1 centimeter whenever possible, but it is not always possible, because sometimes we have tumor which is creeping in the floor of mouth. So then you have there are two options. Either you can do mucoperiosteal stripping, because periosteum is also considered a hard barrier. So if you think, but you have to judge, if you think that you are able to take 7 to 8 millimeter margin, may not be 1 centimeter, by taking mucoperiosteal periosteal stripping, then take it, don't remove the mandible, so that you at the final histopathology you get 5 millimeter at least. But if you think that even after doing mucoperiosteal stripping, you are going to get 2 or 3 millimeter margin on final histopathology, then it's better to do marginal mandibulectomy. So, but marginal mandibulectomy can be planned only when you are 100% sure that mandible is not eroded on imaging, and when your tumor is just abutting but not invading it, and you are just removing the mandible for margin. Marginal mandibulectomy again is of 3 types. One is a horizontal type, in which we remove a rim of the rim of the mandible along with the teeth, keeping 1 centimeter height of the inferior border. Another type is the vertical type and the oblique type. In vertical type, we remove the teeth and we take a vertical slice of the mandible. In oblique, we start with the horizontal, but as we reach the middle, we have to change the direction of our saw and we go vertically down. I will show you better in this diagram, and I'll show you why it is important. So in tongue cancer, so this is our cancer which is abutting over here. This is a buccal mucosa cancer. So for buccal mucosa, if you do horizontal, it is adequate. But for tongue cancer, if you do horizontal mandibulectomy, you will go through the tumor. So for tongue cancer, horizontal marginal mandibulectomy is not recommended. Instead, you should do a vertical marginal mandibulectomy where you get a whole bony slice which serves as a margin for the tongue tumor. Or if your tumor is creeping over to the buccal mucosa, or you have bulky floor of mouth cancers, then what you can do, you can start with the horizontal and then you change your direction and take the vertical slide in your specimen. Segmental mandibulectomy, as mentioned earlier, is done if the bone is eroded or if there is significant posterior soft tissue or paramandibular soft tissue abutting the mandible, and while doing marginal mandibulectomy, you will not be achieving good soft tissue margin. In that situation, segmental mandibulectomy can be planned. Now, compartmental surgery in tongue cancer is another important area, interesting concept, and we must be familiar with this. This was the concept which was first proposed in 2009 by an Italian group. So what they hypothesized, they said that tongue is actually not a one organ, it's a symmetrically paired organ with two halves, and each half works as a compartment. So this is right side compartment, left side compartment. And it has specific boundaries. Now what are the boundaries? Lateral, anterior, inferior is bounded by the periosteum of the mandible. On the midline, it has a lingual septum. Then posteriorly, it has stylohyoid ligament and mylohyoid ligament along the whole floor. And the whole compartment contains the tongue musculature, both intrinsic and extrinsic muscles, stromal elements, sublingual gland, and important neurovascular structures, which is lingual nerve, artery, and hypoglossal nerve. So they hypothesized that in tongue cancer, this is the easiest pathway for the migration of the tumor cells. So if we suppose, even if your tumor is located here, somewhere in the midline, if you just remove the whole compartment, the chances of cure is it's very high, and the recurrence risk is minimized because it entails the removal of the whole of the muscle bundle along with the nerve and vessels. And they subsequently published also, they published in year 2011 their data. They included 193 patients in 143, though it was a retrospective study. They included 143 patients which underwent compartmental tongue surgery, and 50 patients wide excision with more than 1 centimeter margins were done. They saw that after 5 years, local disease control, loco-regional disease control, overall survival was significantly better in the compartment tongue surgery group. And so that is why they proposed that all tongue cancer should undergo compartment resection. This is another group, probably the only another group which has published the results recently, last year only. They included 45 patients, but they did slight variation. They included T3 tumors as per current AJCC classification, which had more than 1 centimeter thickness. Then they did compartmental tongue surgery for all of these patients, but they divided into two groups. One group included 35 patients and they were treatment naive. Then the group 2 had 10 patients who had already received radiation therapy or some other form of treatment, and then they have recurred. They found that if you offer compartmental tongue surgery to these patients, then the outcomes are much superior than the recurrent group patients. So they said that for T3 tumors, thick tumors, it's better to do compartment surgery rather than doing wide excision and then having recurrence and then treat them, because the survival outcomes are superior. So compartment tongue surgery is an interesting concept. It has better loco-regional control. Now we have seen that two groups have published their results. But the problem is that there is significant residual functional anatomical defect. So you can understand that doing it for T3 and T4 tumor, removing the whole compartment, it's fine. But for T1 and T2 tumor, for very small tumor, somehow it is at present we don't have enough data to justify our actions that, for T1 lesion we do whole of the hemiglossectomy. So probably more data is needed to convince for that. Before coming to the glossectomy classification, just in one slide I will explain what are the criteria for unresectability in tongue cancer. If the tumor is very deep, infiltrative, reaching hyoid, you feel that you will not get tumor-free margin without taking out the hyoid. Tumor is involving vallicula, where the margin you will have to remove the epiglottis. It's better not to do upfront surgery. Similarly, sometimes if the mandible is grossly involved in, basically there is a paramandibular spread along the whole length, and if you do segmental mandibulectomy, it's going to be very, very functionally challenging. Then probably you should opt for other modality, maybe NACT, and then look for the response and then surgery. Another contraindication is skin involvement due to direct extension, because that probably has very poor prognosis. Now coming to second part of my presentation, which is the latest glossectomy classification. This was published in 2018 by various experts, like they had Brazilian experts, and Dr. Shaha was also on the board, and it was basically proposed to maintain a uniform classification for the glossectomies. So before going into the details, just look at the tongue anatomy as we discussed earlier. It is basically it has a midline septum, so there are two right and left halves, basically differentiated from base of tongue by circumvallate papilla. Then it has mucosa, submucosa, intrinsic muscles, and then four pairs of extrinsic muscles. So this is the styloglossus, extrinsic muscles, hyoglossus, genioglossus, and then we have mylohyoid and stylohyoid, which are not extrinsic muscles but closely associated with the tongue musculature. And here, somewhere here, we have our lingovascular bundle. So there are 5 types they have described. In type 1 glossectomy, which is also known as mucosectomy, what they do, if you just remove a mucosa and submucosa up to the intrinsic muscle, taking adequate safety margin of 0.5 to 1 centimeter, then they classify it as a type 1 or glossectomy or mucosectomy. And the deep resected margin is just a thin layer of intrinsic muscles. Extrinsic muscles are not touched. Reconstruction is, they propose that it is usually done by secondary intention or by skin graft. Indications are pre-cancerous lesion. For leukoplakia and erythroplakia like this, you can do type 1 glossectomy, or very superficial suspicious lesion, not a proven cancer. Then probably you can do glossectomy with the adequate margins. Now type 2 glossectomy, which also is known as partial glossectomy, we go deeper. This is done for the tongue cancers, proven cancers, and we have to take a safety margin of about 1.5 centimeter as per the authors. So here the defect is mucosa, submucosa, whole of the intrinsic muscles, just up to the surface of extrinsic muscles. So the final, the resection shape is like a cone. So you have to take this whole block, and you don't have to take the lingual nerve or lingual artery as a whole, but terminal branches only are ligated. So this is the classical defect which will leave a type 2 glossectomy or the partial glossectomy, when you have to, there is no ankyloglossia, but you have a known cancer, and you have to, and you remove it with adequate margin. So they also describe that if the infiltration is less than 1 centimeter deep for T1, T2 tumors, then you can get away with type 2 or partial glossectomy. Coming to type 3 glossectomy, they again divided type 3A glossectomy into 2 types. One is type 3A or hemiglossectomy. Here the resection line is again mucosa, submucosa, intrinsic muscle and extrinsic muscles with adequate margin of 1.5 centimeter, but only confined to one side of the tongue. And they suggest that you should do R-block resection of the lingual hypoglossal nerve on the ipsilateral side. Base of the tongue, on the ipsilateral tongue and contralateral both side is preserved. You can even preserve a part of the adjacent tongue if it is beyond your 1.5 centimeter limit, and even the tip of the tongue, because it has functional consequences. If can be preserved safely, then you can preserve it. So this Indication is basically again the lesions which are infiltrating the intrinsic muscles and just reaching extrinsic muscles but not significant ankyloglossia and confined to the ipsilateral tongue. So somewhere like this, when you go through the midline septum, go quite wide 1.5 centimeter, probably the base of tongue or just the adjacent anterior tongue can be preserved. Type 3B glossectomy or compartment hemiglossectomy. So like we saw there in compartmental surgery, that you remove whole of the compartment on one side. So that is so basically compartmental resection on one side is named as compartmental hemiglossectomy. So here the cut is at the circumvallate papilla. You are only leaving base of tongue behind. You are not even preserving tip of the tongue. You give your medial cut over the midline raphe and you cut lingual nerve, lingual artery and hypoglossal nerve at the hyoid. And they suggest that it should be kept along with the neck board specimen. So this will probably be a defect of the classical compartment hemiglossectomy, where this is your cut at the midline septum and you don't even preserve any of the part of the extrinsic muscles. Coming to type 4 glossectomy, again divided into two types, type 4A and type 4B. Type 4A is subtotal glossectomy, which is actually anterior subtotal glossectomy, where you preserve both of the base of the tongue and some portion of the posterior portion of the hyoglossus muscle. And on the less involved side, majority of the time we get the scenario when you have a tumor starting on one point and then it crosses midline and involves the opposite side. So on the less involved side, you can preserve hypoglossal and lingual nerve. So any tumor which is located in the anterior mobile portion, but it is crossing midline involving the contralateral muscles, then you may do subtotal glossectomy. Type 4B is near total glossectomy. It is basically type 4A glossectomy with extension to the ipsilateral base of tongue. So again, the tumor which is starting from one side, crossing midline, involving almost whole of the tongue, but opposite base of tongue can be preserved after taking adequate margin, then it may qualify for the near total glossectomy. Here again, on the opposite side, you may preserve hypoglossal and lingual artery. So it is basically indicated in massive lesion, exceeding, as I mentioned, going on to the opposite side. Type 5 glossectomy is the total glossectomy, where whole of the tongue is involved or very little is remaining, but for resection you have to remove whole of the tongue and your posterior cut will be at the level of vallicula, removing completely along with the complete lingovascular bundle, as we saw in compartmental resection. So it is indicated for massive lesions which is coming onto the anterior ventral surface or some tongue base, bilateral muscles are involved. This is a classical specimen of total glossectomy along with compartment clearance. So here you can see that this is the 1B lymph node on one side, on the other side, and then you take the muscle cut at the level of hyoid and you take the lingual artery also on both sides on the level of hyoid. So that is why I explained you at that time that if you take this level 1B lymph nodes along with the tongue, then your deep margin will be not compromised. They also explained extended resection or lesser resection in type 3 to 5. So if you are removing anything extra, then the tongue, intrinsic or extrinsic muscles, such as you are removing digastric muscle or mandible, then you mention it like glossectomy. So type 4 glossectomy extended to digastric, mandible, epiglottis, and larynx, and so on. Similarly, if you have done something and preserved somewhere any structure, like suppose you have preserved anterior tip of the tongue, then but otherwise you have done compartmental resection, then you may say that compartmental hemiglossectomy preserving tip of the tongue. So just a few slides about the reconstruction, though it is a separate topic, but it will not be, the topic won't be complete without this. So if you look at the solid evidence, there are no standard guidelines what to do when. but this is a common algorithm which most of us follow. If you have a T1 tumor which leaves a defect of less than 30% of the total tongue volume, it can be closed primarily or it can be left raw, and where it heals by secondary intention. It may even be covered with skin graft in certain cases, or local adjacent flap can be done. If you have a T2, T3 tumor which leaves a defect of 30 to 50% of the total tongue volume, then primary closure will not be a suitable option. You have to bring some tissue. So it may be in the form of loco-regional flaps such as submental, nasolabial, PMMF, or it may be in the form of various type of free flaps like radial forearm or lateral arm or anterior lateral thigh flap. If you have a defect which is basically created following the resection of larger T3 and T4 tumors where you have lost more than 50% of the tongue volume, then you have to introduce some bulkier flaps such as ALT free flap or PMMC if you are using pedicle flap. So if you look at the literature, they all say that if you have 30% tongue defect, you can achieve good functional outcome even with primary closure and local methods. Rather, if you do flap for T1 defect, then it will hinder with the speech articulation. If you have a hemiglossectomy defect, T2 or T3, then you should use a flap, because if you do primary closure for a hemiglossectomy, then it will be having inferior swallowing outcomes. Whatever flap you do, it should be thin, it should be pliable, so that it is able to maintain the mobility of the remaining tongue. Most commonly used in the literature is a free radial forearm, but thin ALT, submental, others have also been used, and all of them have equal functional outcome, except in one study which compared radial free arm and free ALT. They found that donor morbidity is less with the free radial forearm. For defect between 30 to 50%, as per the literature, we don't know what is best because there is not enough data, but majority of us would like to do flap as compared to the primary closure. However, the decision is influenced by various other factors such as location of the tumor, involvement of the adjacent structures, and of course upon the patient's criteria. So that's it. Thank you. If there is any question, I'll be happy to take.
Thank you, Dr. Shilpi, for your nice, elaborate, and very informative presentation. I think it is really helpful to all of us, especially for our students. So now the floor is open for question and answers. And I would like to get questions mainly from the student corner. So, Dr. Shilpi, you can start sharing now. Okay, thank you. So, I'd like to request our professor, Dr. Sir, do you have any questions regarding the presentation, or we will wait?
Actually, thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv, and especially I like to congratulate Dr. Shilpi for her great talk. I'd like to ask first question. Just like to know her experience. Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Dr. Shilpi.
Yes, we can hear you.
What measure do you take during pull-through repair in the floor of the mouth to prevent leakage?
So during the reconstruction?
Yes. If you repair it with PMMC to prevent leakage from the floor of the mouth, what measure?
Very important question. So first of all, you have to, the one important point is that whenever you are, after resection, whenever you are planning to, suture the flap, you see that the bone edges should be raw. It should not contain the gingiva, because if you have intact mucosa, the flap will not stick to it. So even if when you have pull through, you normally take mucoperiosteum, deliver the tongue, but sometimes it is not needed, and you may just cut, make a cut in the floor of mouth, and then the gingiva on the inner side of the mandible is intact. So when you are starting your reconstruction, always inspect whether you have a strip of intact mucosa, because that will act as a barrier between your flap and actual mandible. So that is one point. Then the planning of the flap is very important. You have to look at the patient also. Sometimes the PMMC is very bulky, so especially PMMC is very tricky in heavy patients, because there is so much of fat. Then when you try to deliver it into the mouth, it causes problem. So that one thing you have to see. If it is thin, nice, moderate build, then it's good. So this is patient. Then we can take paramandibular sutures. In between we can take proline sutures, because proline has strong tensile strength. So sometimes it may not be there may be some tension in the sutures, and while tying the vicryl may break. So in between you can take proline sutures, which will, even if the vicryl goes and something happens, then at least there will be some anchoring. And baki to I think that you have to instruct your patients.
I'd like to ask another small question. When you include larynx in type 4B or 5 or like that, when you include larynx?
Yeah, so frankly speaking, I have never done a case where I will have to do a laryngectomy along with total glossectomy, because it is functionally very morbid. But there are reports, there are some data, they have done partial laryngectomy along with the total glossectomy when the tumor is reaching vallicula. So basically it's the same concept of the adequate margin. If your tumor is reaching vallicula, you cannot take adequate margin without removing the epiglottis. And if you are removing the epiglottis, you are opening your airway, you are losing that protective function of the larynx. So then it's better to do, they say that it's better to do partial laryngectomy and then suture it, but it is very, very morbid procedure. So I have not, frankly speaking, seen.
Another small question, is there any other sites other than tongue for concept of compartmental resection?
Yeah, so compartmental resection is very commonly being done for AJCC T4B buccal mucosa cancers. So when you have masticator space involvement, here there lies the same concept. So if the tumor is reaching masticator space or IPF, so it's a space, it's lined by boundaries. So there again the same concept, that you take the whole compartment as a whole, defined by the proper boundaries. Like you have to include your temporalis muscle in the excision in the specimen. You have to see your foramen lacerum. You have to make the cut at the posterior tuberosity of maxilla. So that is another area where it is very applicable.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shilpi. So we have a few questions from the audience. Actually, you can see all the questions. That's the first question. This is how depth of invasion evaluate.
So, as we all know, there is no foolproof method to evaluate the depth of invasion preoperatively. You can have a vague idea when you palpate whether it is very thin tumor or it is the thick tumor. So if you have a tumor which is more of infiltrative type, it will definitely have very high depth of invasion. Then the tumor which is more of proliferative and just going little bit. But yes, there is no foolproof method. So that is why we do MRI. Even on MRI, we cannot be for sure whatever they have said is actually correct or no. People have even used intraoral ultrasound to know. There are some studies which say that they have got good results, but it has not been replicated by all. So at present, the accurate measurement of depth of invasion can be done only once the specimen is submitted for histopathology.
Okay, thank you. There are more questions. Would you please tell something regarding neck management?
Yeah, neck I think definitely left out because I thought then it will be a separate topic. But in general, if you have N0 neck, you must, in current era, we have N0 trial, which has clearly shown that if you have to do elective neck dissection for all T2 early tongue and oral cancers. So if you have N0 patient, you do elective neck dissection 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. If you have N positive disease, then you can do MND type 3, preserving all the structures, unless it is involved by the disease. There is a newer concept that if you have only level 1B neck node positive, then you can get away with 1 to 4. You don't have to do level 5 because the chances of having the disease in the level 5 is less than 5%. So that is also there. Then another thing is the only thing, very small superficial primary, like we mentioned in the N0 trial, less than 3 millimeter buccal mucosa. There is not enough evidence whether the elective neck dissection is going to be beneficial or not. So that is probably one area where you may plan to observe. Even then, I would say, because we don't know preoperatively what would be the depth of invasion, so it is always safer, however small or the depth of invasion is, better to do elective neck dissection.
Thank you, Dr.
One thing, Dr. Rajiv, I want to know one thing. How often use frozen section for measuring the depth of invasion?
Sir, frozen section can be utilized, but what are we going to achieve by doing that? So, because now we know that even, see, it's millimeter. We say that we know beforehand that 4 millimeter you have to do neck. And now we know that up to 3 millimeter. 3 millimeter is cut off in the N0 study. So
Yes.
if it is 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter, then
Crucial point is 7 millimeter or more.
yeah,
It is
yeah.
more,
So it is 1 millimeter is like very superficially invasive. So then if you have counseled your patient, if it is 1 millimeter or 2 millimeter, I may avoid neck dissection, then I will send the frozen section to measure depth of invasion. It's fine if the patient is very apprehensive. But frankly speaking, if you see the literature, there is a retrospective study. They have studied, I think, almost 30 patients. So there, they just retrospectively studied what is the cutoff for this, and they found that even 2 millimeter lesions who were observed, they also had poor survival outcome as compared to the patient who underwent neck dissection. So in my practice, I usually do not send for depth of invasion.
Thank you. So before going to the others, we have more questions. As you know, it's a very interesting topic. Dr. Shaswal asked whether any way to assess tongue tumor tissue thickness preoperatively except palpation. So you have already answered this question. I think my students got the answers. So Dr. Moshime asked, ma'am, can we make hole in mandible and suture PMMC flap with proline to prevent leakage? What is your opinion?
So basically, when you do mandibulectomy, when you do glossectomy, and you are if you are doing PMMC flap, then probably you are doing it for the larger tumor. You are doing pull-through approach. So you don't have to make the hole in the mandible because everything is open. So what you can do, you can just turn around your suture. So you don't have to go through it. You can just take one stitch, go around the mandible, then deliver it intraorally. So yes, you can do, and we actually do it most of the time. So we take paramandibular stitch.
That's it. Actually, I want to ask one question to Dr. Shilpi. So, which actually approach do you prefer regarding the Dreadfort Christmas tongue cancer? Dreadfort Christmas tongue cancer. Which approach do you prefer? That is pull-through or mandibular?
I prefer pull-through approach.
But as it is a Dreadfort Christmas, so when you reconstruct the flap within the floor of the mouth, reconstruct the floor of the mouth, reconstruct the part of the tongue, rest of the tongue. So what should be the approach?
So if you have a
Do you face any difficulties to reconstruct? If it is,
So when you have grade 4 trismus, obviously you have to relieve the trismus before doing the reconstruction. So then in
Yes,
that
yes.
situation you have to do bilateral coronary, you have to open it. Otherwise you cannot suture it.
exactly. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, mandibulotomy little bit in fact scary in such cases because I have not seen the tumor. There is in tongue cases there is quite a possibility that it may not have been picked up by the imaging, but it is creeping through the floor of mouth, reaching mandible. You've done the mandibulotomy and then you see, oh, you have to do the marginal mandibulectomy. Then it is very tricky situation. So
Yes.
to avoid that, it's better to do pull through, maybe with a little bit of this thing. You may have to do coronoidectomy first. Sometimes we have to do that in even buccal mucosa cancers to open.
The coronarectomy is a very important part of this.
Yes. And it has to be bilateral.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shilpi. So, Doctor, I'd like to request Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Azad Ali. Sir, do you have any questions or any comments?
Thank you very much, Dr. Shilpi. This is a complete package. I became nostalgic. I was just remembering those days when we were doing surgery and Dikru sir was teaching us. He used to tell us the head neck surgeon who can do the best tongue surgery is the best head neck surgeon. So tongue surgery is a very tough surgery. Everybody agree with me. I will have some 2 or 3 queries. There are so many PG students with us for their understanding also. Today's you have nicely elaborately discussed here the compartmental resection, which is coming up. Italian group and Nirav Trivedi, probably is a South Indian guy. He already presented these issues. If you can remove these neurovascular bundle developmentally, muscles and sublingual nerve and vein and vessels, we can prevent, because through this side the tumor is migrating and transmitting. We want very disease-free carriers and survival and local and regional control for this. So the wide excision tongue, this terminology, do you think we are removing this ideology and we are coming the compartmental resection? Because in our training in Tata, we used to term the wide excision. We put our knife in 1 centimeter apart from the tumor. We cut it and 3 millimeter shrink and 7 millimeter is having and 5 millimeter is enough. This dictum, what is your opinion?
So even now we do that. So wide excision is definitely there. It is like I mentioned earlier, if you are doing a hemiglossectomy and if you are doing a total glossectomy or near total glossectomy, it is a good idea to do it in a proper compartmental fashion. But for a tumor which is 1 centimeter located in the midline, for that tumor, if you are removing, 1/2 of the tongue, that is based on a concept which is not very well has been established, which has not been replicated by many centers, and which is based on a retrospective evidence. Yes, they have shown very good result. There is definitely a food for thought. But to convince a patient that you have a 1 centimeter tumor and I will remove half of the tongue, I need strong data, probably definitely a prospective evidence, if not level 1, to show that yes, it is going to definitely be very, very superior rather than preserving the tongue. So that probably is definitely food for thought and it's very good results. But again, it's retrospective evidence, and for T1, T2, I'm somehow not comfortable because of the major functional outcomes.
Another question, during doing this tongue surgery, during tongue tumor surgery, the anterior, lateral, superior, and this margin we usually look for, and we can take necessary. But during taking the third dimension, this is very much difficult, and most recurrence is going to these sides.
Yes.
So can you please give some tips and tricks to the PG students and all of the participants here, how you are assessing the third dimension margin during taking the tumor?
So if you remember what...
Because we are doing the MRI also, we are clinically palpating, we are doing the EUA, palpating the tongue, and MRI we have, even though how you are assessing the third dimension.
Yeah. So when you place your cut and then put one index finger of the opposite hand over the cut edge, and then as you advance, you keep palpating it. Not at any point you should not be able to palpate the tumor. You should not be able to feel the hard part. If you are feeling, then please move away and take your revised margin. So that means it will be in continuity. It's not like you are compromising margin. That is one way of checking whether your tumor is surrounded by a normal cuff of tissue all around or no. Another important thing, whenever in doubt, be on the more side. So take more margin than less margin, because as everyone here, one side we are talking about compartmental resection. They are going so aggressive. And many studies they say that take 1.5 centimeter, because they say that these are like tongue muscle. They're not as such formed barriers. Like in larynx, we have barriers, we have ligaments and all. Here in tongue, we have muscles. Plus, we keep eating, swallowing. So they say that the tumor cells, they tend to go deeper, and that is why they say that this is the easiest pathway. That is the compartmental resection. So whenever in doubt, take more. Another thing which I have noticed is that when we take floor of mouth cut, take mucosal cut and go little bit further, because the muscles in the floor of mouth, they keep shrinking, they keep moving. Sometimes you may not be realizing, but you have actually gone inside. Inside means towards the tumor. So then when you take floor of mouth cut, just take mucosal cut and then go slightly wider. Like how when we do PMMC, we take the muscle cut and then we slightly go, on the outer side of the pack. So similarly here, because that is the base of the tumor.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shilpi. So we have few questions. So we have one question from Dr. Muhammad Hani. So in carcinoma oral tongue, we should dissect level 1A. So what precautions should take during use of submental flap?
So that is one problem, that is one of the criticism for submental flap, that you have to be first of all very much sure that your neck is controlled. So there should not be any, first of all, N positive disease at level 1A and 1B. But even then, you know that there is 30% chances of having occult metastasis in level 1. So that is why if you have a oral cancer primary, you are little bit reluctant to do submental flap, but you can do it with experience, with expertise, using magnification, but it's little bit a tricky area, because
Yes, that's why it's very much criticized.
Yes.
Especially in oral cavity carcinoma, including tongue and everything. When we we are going to clear the level 1A, then definitely there may be chance of cure, but as the submental vessels. So
And
submental flap is
for
very.
that, you don't want to leave behind, tumor tissue also.
Yes,
Because
definitely.
so that is why it's little bit tricky.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shilpi. So we have our colleagues, Dr. Kaji Shaimus Salam. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So do you have any questions or do you have any comments regarding this lectures?
Thank you, Shilpi Sharma, for your nice and elaborate presentation. I want to know, though it is a rare 5%, but if the 1 centimeter squamous cell carcinoma involved the middle center dorsal surface of the tongue, how will you manage regarding excision and
Dorsum of the tongue is a tricky situation to treat, because thankfully it is less common. It's only 5% of the tumor.
yes, 5%.
But yes, you have to maintain, the dictum, whatever we have to follow. So oncologically, it should not be compromised. And then you can probably think of reconstruction later. So if you have a dorsum of the tongue lesion, slightly, just sitting on the, dorsum of the tongue, you may ask the brachytherapy colleague if they are happy to treat that, if it is superficial and all. If they are also not confident it is infiltrative type, then we don't have any choice. We have to take at least 1 centimeter depth, and then probably either they say that if it is midline of the dorsum of the tongue, you can even put a skin graft over it. So if you put a skin graft, then that way you will not be, kind of altering too much of the tongue musculature, and it will heal. But yes, skin graft is little bit this thing, because it's a mobile tongue, but still people have used it with success.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Okay,
Shilpi.
thank you.
Sir, do you have any more questions? Okay, so I don't know whether we can have Professor Khurshid Majumdar sir with us or not. Sir,
Yes, she is still with us.
yes, sir. Sir, can you hear me, sir? Professor Khurshid Majumdar sir? Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Thank you.
Sir, I would like to put some comment. I would like to request you, sir, to put some comments, and if you have any inquiries, we can ask to Dr. Shilpi. Sir, Dr. Shilpi, Professor Khurshid Majumdar sir is one of our renowned and legendary professor. He has very vast experience regarding the head and neck surgery. So, it's working as an head of the department in Holy Family Red Kids Medical College and Hospital. So, sir, please.
Asking me to pass a comment. In fact, I was amazed seeing the description and the indications what she was telling. It was very useful guide for our people and for all the people to work who are doing on that. And it seems she's a lot of experience she has on this field. We are also working some of this. And in fact, when a growth in the center or base of the tongue that involves a region and the blood vessels, the lingual arteries are very near, then it is the problem. I want to hear a comment from Shilpa, whether this is any other alternative than a total gosectomy or other things when it is the base of the tongue, in the vallicula when it is very near to the both lingual arteries. Thank you very much for nice and excellent elaborate presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the nice comments. So, base of tongue is classically, if the tumor is originating in the base of tongue, then it is a oropharyngeal cancer. So, oropharyngeal cancer, you can either use chemoradiotherapy in this situation, because surgery, so we can do surgery in base of tongue cancers also, but it is going to be more functionally morbid. So I do not prefer, if you have a isolated base of tongue cancer, especially which is not T1, which is involving close to bilateral lingual artery, I would not do surgery in this case. I would send this patient for the chemoradiotherapy. If there is any residual disease, then only I would think of doing any salvage surgery. And then if you have to do salvage surgery, then you will have to do probably base of tongue because of the close proximity. You may have to do mandibulectomy depending upon the extent of the tumor of it, or if it is residual, very small T1, something like that, then probably we can even do robotic resection nowadays. But for base of tongue isolated tumors, my first modality will be non-surgical. Because if you have to, even if it is T1 base of tongue, now we still have robot and all for which has been used, especially in HPV positive patients. But classically in our continent, the patients are, first of all, you rarely see very small base of tongue. Majority of the time, base of tongue tumor is involving bilateral base of tongue, crossing midline, vallicula, going to be epiglottis. So then surgery will be very morbid, because it's not possible to just remove bilateral base of tongue and then you cannot resuture the anterior tongue. It's going to be total ossectomy otherwise.
Yes.
If it is crossing midline.
Thank you for your very rational answer and rational approach. Unfortunately, we sometimes see some of the patients that usually not from our country. In fact, whenever goes to your country, some of the patients have total gosectomy and other surgeries with morbidities done by some of the colleagues. And you were very rational in answering this question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your nice comments. And we have Dr. Ghulam Mustafa from Kubillas. Sir, do you have any questions? Yes, you have to unmute yourself, sir. You have to unmute yourself. Dr. Ghulam Mustafa.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, yes.
Nice and good presentation. I've enjoyed this, but really we are doing anterior portion of the tongue cancer, but we are not doing any management for base of the tongue cancer. So we have learned much more things for management, and it should be very helpful for our students. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ghulam Mustafa. I have already discussed with Dr. Shilpi that it's base of the management of base of the tongue, that is BOT. It should be another lecture. And if she has time, then definitely she can give the lecture to us. Okay. So, sir. Now it is 10:40. So, but I would like to request Professor Belasthi sir, would you please conclude this session? Sir, as we don't have any questions, or I think. So, would you please conclude this session now?
Actually, I have been expecting more questions from the students. because
Yes,
this is
sir.
a very interesting and very actually common chapter, the tongue cancer. We have frequently we are doing tongue cancer surgery. So then I would like to again join the chorus that I will thank Dr. Shilpi for her elaborative lecture, and this is definitely very informative as well. Particularly the idea of compartmental dissection. Actually, that idea of hemithyroidectomy, hemiglossectomy or total glossectomy, it is not very new. It was in the books, and the people have been practicing it earlier. The idea of hemiglossectomy was there, but the explanation or the idea of anatomical and other pathogenesis is maybe not as rich as now, but the idea of hemiglossectomy and total glossectomy was there. But it is again coming up. So I think these are very applicable for the advanced cases. For the earlier cases, we should not be that much drastic, because there are other things, that is wide excision, and if it requires postoperative radiotherapy, you can give a good prognosis. And I can ensure good prognosis as well. Anyway, the way she was presenting I'm impressed actually, because the way she was presenting is really attractive, and it is very clear to all the participants, and I think everybody will be benefited by these things. So thank you, Shilpi. Thank you very much
My
for joining
pleasure.
us and giving us time. And again, I shall say that we shall expect you in our future meetings
Definitely.
also. And when it will be, the corona will go away, we hope we can invite you in our institutions. Okay.
Yes, definitely. I've been there once and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, we have already enjoyed Dr. Shilpi's operation in 2017. She demonstrated us in technique section with Professor Devendra Chakar. She was with us in our third or fourth. So the way it was third or fourth? Third.